Hey guys, it's Talon. So today we're going to be bringing you a video about objective control. I'm basically just going to go through first basic things about objectives, and then I'm going to go through some examples of different clips showing when to choose to go for what objective. And that's about it. I'm going to have timestamps in the description for the different examples, so you can check that out if you want to skip to certain parts of the video. And apart from that, let's get right into the video. Okay guys, so I'm just going to do a quick overview before the examples. I'm going to try to make this very brief, but I'm just going to explain some things about objectives. First, Herald. It's best for early gold and for getting carry champions ahead. So this is best for snowballing games and getting gold onto very good champions such as Gwen and Camille, because you can snowball the game with them. Herald's damage, it does 1500 damage plus the 50 times the current champion level. So if you have, say, a level 3 champion, 50 times 3 is 150, and then 1500 plus 150, that's going to be 1650 damage. Herald's much worse after 7 minutes because plates drop. That means that you're not going to be able to get enough damage, or you're not going to get plates from it. So you're definitely going to want to try to get Herald before 7 minutes. Next, dragons give better scaling and allow for dragon stacking. So what's dragon stacking? It means that each buff of the dragon increases based on how many dragons you have. So if you have one dragon, for example, your infernal dragon is only going to deal 3% extra bonus damage of both ability power and AD. But if you have 2 dragons, it'll do 6% and 12% with 3. Same for the other buffs. Ocean Dragon, it gives you extra regeneration on your health every 5 seconds, and then you get armor from the Mountain Dragon. When you're choosing which objective to go for, first you want to decide if you want to fight the opponents. Do you want to fight the opponents? Then go to the same objective that you think they'll go to. Do you not want to fight them? Go to the objective you think they're not going to go to. Also think about which members of your team are the strongest. You want to start the objective on whatever side of the map that your teammates are the strongest on. So if your top lane is very strong, try to go for Herald. If your bot lane is very strong, try to go for Dragon. Which objective benefits your comp is also important. So for example, the scaling comp might want to try to get more gold on their scaling champions earlier and go for Herald, but a more early game comp might want to stack Dragons so that their late game can match the enemies. However, these things vary very much depending on a lot of different factors. So yeah, you want to fight the same objective if you're ahead and the opposite objective if you're behind. Again, not always, but this is a general rule. Now let's get into the rest of the video. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about objective control when you have a lead. So here, again, we just get a nice kill onto the Teemo there, and then I know I have a time to back. Additionally, I look at my items and I see I already have Trinity Force, which is very strong for just the first dragon for Camille. And so what am I going to do here? I'm going to try to get to the same objective that they're at. The reason being, we're much stronger, meaning that we'll be able to win the fight much easier. And whenever you are stronger than the enemy team, you want to try to force a fight at the first of Dragon or Herald, whichever you think they'll go to. Now, I see both of them in the top lane here, which makes me think they'll probably play for Dragon due to the fact that normally a support would roam to the Herald if you wanted to go for the Herald. And so I'm right. I see them end up coming here. And so I decide to force a fight because we're stronger and I know we should be able to win it if I play it properly. So I go onto the backline here because that's my job a lot of times as Camille, is to go onto the backline. I end up killing the Varus here. Then fight goes well. I continue to go onto the Lucian. Now you'll see a bit later in this fight I'm going to end up making some mistakes, and that's going to cause the fight to not go perfectly. But what's important is the decision making there, and the decision making there is that I'm going to try to contest the objective that I think that they will go at because of the fact that we're stronger, and I want to force a fight to continue to snowball our lead further. So even though the fight doesn't go perfectly, their top laner comes and ours doesn't, meaning our top laner gets extra gold, or our bot laner rather, the Yone. He gets extra gold while their Teemo comes and doesn't really get much done, and they're too weak to actually start the dragon. So now I know, since we ended up having that first fight, we get the backs off first after winning that fight. Despite it being close, we did end up winning it. And that means that we're again able to just start this objective up again. And now, since their Teemo just rotated, he's going to want to go catch his lane in the bot side of the map. Meanwhile, we have our Yone coming, as you can see now, starting to roam over, so we know that we can easily start this objective. And again, the decision making here is really just, we're stronger, so we're going to force a fight. That's what we end up doing. I want to continue to force fights. Whenever I'm strong in the game, I want to continue to make them fight me because I know we're going to win every fight, because that's how solo queue works generally. When you're ahead, if you continue fighting and try to force fights at objectives, you're usually going to end up winning them. And so again, just because we have more gold, we have more kills, we're just stronger in levels and everything here. This fight ends up going well despite a lot of mechanical misplays here. You'll see a dumb flash from me, and then I ult the Wukong clone. But does it matter? No, because we're so ahead. So again, doesn't actually matter how well you play these fights if you're just taking good fights initially, right? You can make a lot more mistakes if your decision making initially is very strong. And so that's why, despite the kind of, again, a lot of misplays for me in this fight, still ends up working well. Additionally, if you contest the same objective as the enemy, it means that after you win the fight because you were stronger, you can back and then go for the other objective. This allows you to get both objectives and snowball the game much quicker. You know that they're probably going to contest the same objective as you, because again, it's the only objective on the map now that you took the dragon. So I'm of course expecting another fight here, or expecting them to give it for free, but either way I know, because we're again even stronger now that we forced a free fight and won it due to the fact that we were already stronger. We're now going to be able to just continue to snowball and win more and more fights if they ever decide to fight us here, because we, you know, have better items, have more levels, all stuff like that. So again, you know, I'm looking here, trying to force the fight, trying to get this objective, because I'm confident that we'll end up winning the fight. And so you can see they get a huge engage by the Rakan here. Super bad for us. Really well played by the Rakan there. Does it matter though? No, because we're just way ahead. It literally doesn't matter. No matter how well they play these fights, they will lose them, because we're just taking smart fights where we're ahead and the situations are looking good. Imagine if we'd actually played these fights really well and we didn't group up and clump up and have that stuff happen to us. It would end up just working out much better. But you know, instead, even despite our poor gameplay, because our decision making of what objective to contest is correct, we end up winning these fights and snowballing the game from here, and it's very easy to win. So that's going to be an example of what to do when you're ahead in an objective. Now let's get into the next example. Okay, so this example is going to show you kind of how to decide usually when going for herald, and why you're going to want to go for herald oftentimes. There's two main factors that make me want to go for herald in this situation. One is my top laner is a Gwen and I'm a Camille. Both Gwen and Camille are champions that are extremely strong in the late game. Why would I want to contest herald in playing some really good scaling late game champs? The reason is because I want to get gold on those champs, because those champs do much better with a lot of gold. So both Camille and Gwen are champions that need a lot of gold to be successful, and herald gives me much more gold than dragon, whereas dragon helps you scale better and makes you better in the late game. So I'm essentially deciding I want to play for the snowballing my very good scaling champs, myself and my Gwen, and playing for those strong champions, and deciding my bot lane, they're okay, they'll be fine. I'll just decide to get my top laner very ahead. So typically when you have a carry champion in the top lane and you're also playing a carry champion in the jungle, you're gonna wanna go for herald. Now other times you can go for herald are when you just simply are weaker than the enemy team and you don't want to fight them. That's because if you're weaker than the enemy team, you just want to trade one objective for the other, and you let them decide which objective they want, and then you take the one they don't go for, and oftentimes they're going to go for dragon, and then you decide herald. But here you see I played for my top side, they're all distracted on the dragon. I get first tower, which is a ton of plates for me and my Gwen, and additionally I still have herald up. So simply just playing for two very good scaling champs, me and Gwen, getting us very ahead, and going to end up just being able to snowball this game, because we have late game champs who already have a ton of gold and are able to carry the game. So that's it for this example. Now we'll get into some mid to late game examples of more objective control. Okay guys, so this next clip is going to be a game that we're hard losing, where I'm going to talk about Barons. So Baron is a great way to end the game faster and to actually allow your team to end the game before the enemy team can come back. Now games you don't want to start Baron in are games where you're so ahead that you know that you will guaranteed win the game as soon as you just fight the team, or you know, just fight the enemy, because you just know that you'll kill them in any fight. So the reason it's bad to do the Baron here when they do it is because they don't have vision over the wall and they don't have anybody zoning me, which means that I can definitely steal it. Now you're going to see here I'm not actually going to be the one stealing it because I'm going to mess up, but the gist here is that they don't have any vision over the wall and they're not focusing on the steal. They're just trying to flip the objective when they're really ahead. Now you never want to flip a Baron or an Elder Dragon when you're very ahead in the game. Well, what you want to do whenever you're ahead instead is just try to force fights, because again, when you're already ahead, you're going to continue winning fights. But the way to lose is to corral yourself into a small Baron pit and end up flipping a 50-50 where your jungler hopefully hits the smite. So this is a thing that I'd say very many people just don't know about Baron, is that they usually try to force it just to end the game faster because they get impatient, but in reality, you're so ahead already in this game that there's no way for you to possibly lose it unless you do a throw like that. So you only want to use Baron in a game that you know you need to end fast, or when their jungler's dead. Either their jungler's dead and you have a man or two-man advantage, probably two-man advantage, or you know, the other case is when you need to end the game fast enough because you know that the enemy team is going to become too strong if you let the game go on any later. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about fighting the second and third dragon. So typically for second and third dragon, if you're somewhat close in the game, then you want to decide to contest it once your teammates are all close by. And so you can see here that my Veigar is very split off, where I know that all of them are there together in the top side of the map. So what I want to do here is wait for my Veigar to come before starting the fight. But you're going to see instead my Rakan decides to go in, and then I additionally go way too far, which is just not smart. You should not go so far before your teammates are all there for the fight, especially when you're ahead in the game, because then you're just kind of throwing away an advantage, where if you simply wait for your teammates to all group up and be there together, then you're not going to throw a fight like this. But instead you can see that I end up starting the fight way too early, jumping the gun, even though the objective is not even low and we have plenty of time to wait for our Veigar to get there. And this ends up causing the fight to go a bit off and not quite work out as it should have, which is a big mistake for me, and ends up losing us this dragon, which should have been a very easy dragon for a team that was as ahead as we were. Alright guys, that's it for the video. As any good YouTuber would do, I'm going to make sure to beg you guys for likes and subscriptions to my channel if you ended up liking the video. Additionally, just let me know anything I can improve on in the future, any future videos you'd like me to do. That's going to be it for the video. I'll see you guys later.